Hi, I'm Rachel.
Hi, I'm Jeremy.
Hi, I'm Lissa.
We're here from Karefree Krafting. We're going to talk about surgical masks. These are made out of quilter's cotton. When you have surgery, your surgeon wears a mask to protect you from what he or she is breathing out. It doesn't offer the surgeon any protection from anything you might have. They do offer some minor protections from flu and GI illnesses and things like that, stomach bugs. I don't know how effective they are against this novel virus that's going around. If you are an asymptomatic carrier, a lot of people would be very grateful if you'd wear one of these. We have several different closure styles. The important thing for your comfort is that where you see the pleats going up, that's the part that goes against your face. Otherwise it smashes down the end of your nose. So we have a wire in ours. You just shape the wire to your face. This pattern we're going to show you includes 3 different ways that you can attach the mask to your face. I prefer 2 elastics that go all the way around my head. Jeremy prefers ties, and Lissa has the kind that go around your ear. And I have kind of a weird system. I've always worn my hair long, and so this is how I prefer it. I normally would have my hair back in a bun or a ponytail and out of the way, and so I'd have one strap on top of the bun and one strap below it.
I just like to tie it at the back of my neck and then towards the top of my head. It's nice and comfortable, and I don't have to worry about elastic snapping on my ears.
I like this closure over the ear. Not only is it easy to put on and take off, really simple and quick, but it offers some flexibility and still keeps it tight.
Now, supplies you'll need, as I've mentioned, we have a wire in ours. It looks like this. It's a flat aluminum wire. This is a brand I won't mention. You can get it anywhere. You can get it at craft stores. I've seen it on Amazon. I've seen it on jewelry making websites. We are using 5mm by 3 yards aluminum wire. And since you only need 4 inches per mask, you can get 27 masks out of one package. So there should be enough to go around. You can also get elastic if you choose to put elastic on your masks. You don't need this if you go for the ties. This is 1/8 of an inch. You could use anything up to 1/2 inch. I think anything beyond that would get bulky and uncomfortable, especially for behind the ears. If you're going around your head, you could probably use a bigger size. And then we have cotton. What material you use depends on how you plan to clean this. If you plan to just wash and dry them in your washer and dryer, then you could use just about anything. You could use cotton or polycotton blend. If you're around people that are immunocompromised and you need to get this as close to sterile as you can, use 100% cotton fabric. This is quilter's cotton and cotton thread. And then we have some sanding paper to sand the burrs off the wire after we cut it. Bias tape maker.
No idea what bias tape is.
It's this. If you have any disposable medical supplies, please donate them to your local hospitals. We have nurses and doctors being told to take care of this horrible virus with a bandana tied around their face. And if the nurses and doctors start dropping, we're all sunk. Please, 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 if you have any respirators that maybe you were going to paint your living room and you have one in your garage, take it to your hospital. They need it. So the first thing we need is fabric. This is a rectangle that's cut 8 by 16 inches. This is if you're making a mask for yourself. If you're making masks for use in a healthcare setting, for example, a hospital or nursing home, you actually need to use this other pattern where you have 2 separate squares. These are 8 inches by 8.5 inches. Construction is almost the same. The reason for the two different colors is so that in a hospital or nursing home, if they have to reuse the mask, they can tell at a glance which is the clean side and which is the dirty side. They don't have to look for the folds. It's very easy to make a mistake, and then you have sick healthcare staff. So the first thing we'll do on the 2-piece, we'll sew the bottom at a 1/4 inch, just a normal 1/4 inch seam. Every quilter's familiar with that. And then we need a 1 inch seam at the top to make room for the wire. For the 1-piece mask, we'll just fold it wrong sides together, and then we will mark off our sew line 1 inch from the top. So that leaves us with these pieces. We'll turn them right sides out. We want to work that seam to where the fabric is all going one way and the seam's in the middle, and then we iron that nice and flat. But don't iron to the edge. We don't want to put extra creases out there. We just want this flat, because the very next thing we're going to do is move that to the edge and iron that down. And now we'll go all the way down and we'll iron the crease in the bottom. For the 2-piece mask, it's a little bit different. We want to turn this and make sure that when we iron this flat, we're not ironing the bottom seam yet. And then we'll press that flat. And then this bottom seam, we'll just work it to the edge. The bottom seam doesn't have to be as precise as the top seam. The top seam needs to be straight and needs to be very tidy so that we can feed the wire into it. The bottom seam is just a seam. If it gets a little crooked, that's okay. As pretty as these are, the cold hard reality is that a lot of them will be disposed of in medical waste. So while quality is still important, quantity is more important. Then we'll have to get our wire ready. We want to measure out 4 inches and trim it. I may or may not be cutting this with the right tool. There might be some jewelry makers out there cringing at what I'm cutting this wire with, and that's fine. If you know a better way, please tell me. I'm always open to a better way. And I'm going to take this over a trash can to do it, because we want to cut these corners and round it off. I don't want metal shavings all over my sewing machine. I've trimmed the wires round, and then I've got my sandpaper, and what I bought came with several grits. I'm mainly using the fine one. You just want to give it a quick pass. This is just to keep them from poking through. They will eventually poke through, but hopefully these masks won't be needed long enough to make replacements. The next step on this has to do with this 1 inch seam. We're going to sew a line 1/2 inch from the edge all the way across, and that will make a channel for our wire. With that done, fold this in half to find your midpoint. Then make a mark 2 inches over. Now there's 2 ways to do this next step. I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm just going to sew back and forth over this and make a nice thick wad of thread. I have a straight stitch only machine. If you have a machine that does buttonholes, I would actually recommend a satin stitch right here to give this wire something to push up against while it's in the channel. This is to seat the wire. See, there's a nice thick wad of thread right there. If you notice at the edge of the fabric here, there are 4 layers in this channel. We want to slide that wire in the middle and then just slide it down. Now feel for the edge of the wire. I wouldn't measure this just in case you cut a little long or a little short. Feel for the edge of the wire and make a mark at the edge of the wire, and then sew just to the other side of that mark. So that's done. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make some marks for our folds. From the bottom seam, or the bottom fold, I like to do 2 inches. And then 2 inches from that. and then 1 3/4 inch from that. And that's the same on both styles of mask. If you're making both sides the same, or if both sides are the same type of fabric, you don't have to be very fussy about the way the folds go. If you make, for example, one side flannel, the side where the folds point up is the side that goes towards your face. It'll work if you put the side where they point down towards your face, but it smashes your nose. So then we'll just fold this up and make about a 1/2 inch pleat. It doesn't have to be highly precise. It just has to be the same on both sides. Now that we have these pinned in place, we're actually going to iron over the pins. The next step is that we're going to sew down the side to hold the pleats in place. You can do that first if you don't have pins that can be ironed over. I have all metal pins, and we just want to hit that with a lot of steam and really flatten it out. This is the benefit of all cotton. And I don't know if I've mentioned it yet, that wire is aluminum, so it won't corrode. You can iron over it. It's going to be a little bit hot right now, so I'm going to try not to touch it. Now I'm going to take this and just sew up the side and remove the pins. That's both of those done. Now for the ties, I have my bias tape maker, and this is a 1.5 inch strip of fabric. If you want, this is the 18 millimeter. If you want a slightly wider bias tape, use the 25 millimeter. So now that we have our tapes, and these, I don't think I mentioned, these are just cut straight of grain. They're not bias. If you don't have bias tape maker, you could fold this in half and sew down one side and then turn it with a safety pin. If you make the type of mask that has the tapes around that go all the way around your head, the tapes need to be 33 inches long. You find the midpoint, put it with that middle fold on your mask. So the edges, the raw edges of the mask are encased in the ties. That's the mask with the ties. Alright, so for the style that has the elastic, you still need the casing, you just need shorter lengths of it, and I like to cut this to fit in case I got off when I was doing my creases, then the casing still fits. There is another way to do this with longer lengths of elastic so that the elastic goes around your head. If you elect for this, you attach the elastic the same way I'm about to show you, but your elastic length needs to be 13.5 inches. For this it needs to be 7. If you're making this for children, you need smaller size everything. If you're making this for someone that has a larger face, you might even go up to 8 inches of elastic. So turn it over to the side that's going to go against this, the face. You put the mask, the edge of the mask, in the center of the bias tape so that it ends up like this. And you'll fold one of the corners down and put the elastic in it. Like that. And then you just pin this. And it's actually easier to do the second one at the sewing machine when it's almost done. Just sew this on, and when you get about right there, you'll cut the end of this off, and you'll do this end the same way you did this end, and just tuck the other loop of elastic in there. There you have it. There's 2 different styles of surgical mask. We also also are working on a pattern for this mask. We'll give you some more information on that here in just a minute, but this is going to be an upcoming video. There's our surgical masks. We are working on another pattern of a different mask that's a bit more fitted, maybe a bit more comfortable, especially for those of us that have long hair. But in the meantime, you're stuck at home anyway. Might as well use your pretty things, right?
I just prefer my mug of coffee. Nice, 3 days old, black as Rachael's soul. Still good?
Of course my soul is still good.
I'm at the coffee.
One thing that this does not protect against is Jeremy's gas emissions. He had to test it. We nearly died.
The wife's used to it. She did just fine. Plenty Dutch ovens.
All the time.
But once again, we do want to just remind everybody, if you have any type of disposable personal protection, please donate it to your local hospital, nursing home, anything of that nature. They are all running out of it, and your nurses and doctors are being asked to perform procedures without having the correct protective gear.
I don't even want to consider what the CNAs are being asked to do.
But again, from Karefree Krafting, thank you. Thanks for watching the video. Please keep coming back for more, and we'll see you next time.
We're going to get through this. It has to end.